Hello everyone, welcome back. In this video, we are going to discuss a new type of equation, rational equation. In this video, we are going to work together, study together about the methods, strategies we can use to solve this equation. To start our conversation, the very first question we're probably going to ask is, what is rational equation? What's the difference between rational equation and comparing to other type of equation? Since we call rational equation, the very first word is rational. So it must be linked to the number we learned before, rational number. Like things we can write in a fraction. So we can borrow this idea to put in the equation. Equation have equal sign, right? So if I put this way, and something like that, now we have equation. And variable is under the as denominator, and this type of equation we called rational equation. As you can see, the very obvious feature for this equation is we are dealing with fractions. So to help us to refresh our memory regarding fraction, we are going to do a quick warm-up. We are going to add these two fractions. So probably the first reaction is, whoa, this is kind of elementary school math, right? Yes. So that's why we keep saying math is now changing. All the skills we learned in the past will help us to master a new skill. So to add a fraction, we cannot say, oh, 4 plus 12 is 16, 3 plus 5 is 8. It's not working like that. Fractions is we have to change to be the same denominator, which is, for this case, we need to figure out what are the common denominator for 4 and 12. Or in other words, is common multiple between 4 and 12. Some of you probably figure out it's 12. Yes, that's correct. So we are going to change 4. In other words, meaning we multiply something to 4 so we can change, we can take as 12. So it's 4 times 3, 4 times 3. Another thing I want to remind you, if you do forget how to find common multiple, a way to do that is write down the multiple, list the multiple of each number, and then compare what is the common multiple. 4 times 1 is 4, 4 times 2 is 8, 4 times 3 is 12, 4 times 4 is 16. 12 times 1 is 12, times 2 is 24. You can just, continue. And you see the common multiple is actually coming from 12, so that's why we use this. But some of you might argue, hold on, I know 24 is working because 4 times 6 is 24, 12 times 2 is 24. Yes, that's correct. But the thing is, 24 is not the least common denominator. Let me write down the word here, LCD. Not the least common denominator. So if you want to use 24, which is fine, but you just need to simplify more because you're dealing with a bigger number. So let's continue our conversation here. Then 3 times 3 is 9, 4 times 3 is 12, and the rest part we just need to keep the denominator and add a numerator. So that's the answer. Of course, you can simplify at the end if you want to, but since it's not the most important right now, we just leave it here. But the idea is, as you can see, we need to find LCD, right? So the next warm-up is going to give us different examples. And this time we're going to deal with a way much more complicated one. We are dealing with variables. So in this video, we are going to say, how do I find LCD to deal with all different kind of cases so we can know what's going on? As you can see here, since we have two different components, we have variables, we also have numbers, so we can deal with them together. So the first thing you see, between 3 and 6, we know the 6 can be the proper multiple, but this one is like no variable, but this one is variable, so we just cover the variable. Remember, your LCD is always the one covered all the components you have, number-wise, variable-wise, right? So our goal is to multiply something so I can make this at the same denominator. So I'm going to rewrite this one, and then we know we multiply 2x, because 3 times 2 is 6, and then x is covered here. And always remember, you multiply the same thing on the top. So now we have 2x over 6x minus 1 over 6x. Now, same denominator, then I can combine them together, just like that, right? Next is we have 2x and 3x. For number 2 and 3, again, if you do forget, you can do 2 times 1 is 2, 2 times 2 is 4, 2 times 3 is 6. For 3 times 1 is 3, 3 times 2 is 6, and you can see we have common denominator. So 6 will be the one, and they both have variable x, so LCD will be 6x. So how do I change this to 6x? I need to multiply. Yes, you are correct. We need to multiply 3 for this one. And for the second part, we need to multiply 2. And now we just need to write down everything. Now we have same denominator. So we can just combine them together, and luckily we have these two numbers can combine, 3 minus 2 is 1, then that's the answer. Okay, let's move on. So next one, as you can see, we have variable x squared and the variable x. Some student might say, oh, I can change x to be x squared, just put a 2 here. That's right, but you have to understand what is x squared coming from. X squared is coming from x times x, right? So that means in order to become x squared, I just need to multiply x. That will be considered our LCD for this case. So we just need to figure out x squared is already become x squared, the same as LCD, we don't need to change it. But for second part, I need to multiply the x. Remember, the x squared coming from x times x. So I just write down the rest part, and it's just 1 minus 3x is x squared. If you're wondering why do I not combine these two, because they are not like terms. One is variable, this one has variable, but this one is not, so you cannot combine them. Okay, move on to the last. This one, as you can see, we have quite different denominator. One is x minus 1. If you really look through here, some student might say, can I plus 1 here so it becomes x? No, because when we change fraction, we cannot add or subtract. We can multiply or divide for numerator and denominator. So this time, I'm going to consider each one as an individual denominator, and they don't have any common factor other than 1. So this time, I will multiply these two together. It's very similar to this idea. For example, if you want to add these two, you know our common denominator is 15, so I multiply 5, I multiply 3 for this case, right? So same thing here. We multiply these two together, we will figure out what is a common denominator. So the first one, I will multiply the second part. And we'll do the same on the top. And for second part, I just make up the missing part. I multiply x. This is exactly, so we multiply the two denominator together, denominator. So as you can see, the denominator becomes x times x minus 1. If you wonder why the order is different, because when you multiply two things, order doesn't matter. That's actually coming from our commutative property, right? So this is x minus 1 because 1 times this is the itself, and then 3x is 3 times x is this. So now I just combine like term, which is negative 2x minus 1, and this is the whole thing. Okay, so that's the different cases for us to dealing with LCD. You may wonder why we're not talking about equation yet, because all the skills we practice, we reviewed here, will be needed when we solve equation. In this video, that's all we are going to cover. In next videos, we are going to explore different type of rational equation. We're going to see what is the strategy we can use to solve this one. Looking forward to working on those examples with you very soon. So see you soon, everyone, in the next videos.